as per before, please do click on the QR code to see the full bios of our panelists. But we're so thrilled to have you both here. And I'd love to start off with a recognition of the importance of collaboration has already been reiterated, but when we think about what that might look like in a world where we face all kinds of dangerous pathogens that may not be immediately commercial opportunities for big pharma, we have to think about collaboration in a new way that can bring those technologies to the people who need them in a sustainable way in advance of the pandemics and outbreaks that we've seen in the past. Today I'm excited to hear more about a new model for doing that. Richard, would you like to start us off? Can we start off with a description of this announcement and the new partnership that is unfolding?
Sure. No, very, very excited. Thank you all for coming. My name is Richard Hatchett. I'm the CEO of the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. We're an organization that supports the development of vaccines against epidemic and pandemic diseases. We were actually established here in Davos in 2017 as a result of the West African Ebola epidemic. So Ebola has always been a critically important disease for us. It is one of the iconic emerging infectious diseases. And I actually was prompted by, we were having a conversation a little bit earlier, was prompted to look back to see when was the last year that we did not have an outbreak of Ebola or one of the related filovirus diseases, Marburg or Sudan. Anybody want to guess? It was 2010. These outbreaks occur every year somewhere, and the diseases are extremely lethal. And the vaccine that we have, which is Merck developed during the outbreaks in 2014 to 2016, is a wonderful vaccine. It immunizes after a single dose. It is very safe. It has been used in hundreds of thousands of people, but it has some significant limitations. The process that is used to manufacture the vaccine is a very old process. It was developed rapidly in a crisis, obviously, so they used a tried and true process, but it doesn't scale very easily. The vaccine is expensive, and it has very significant cold chain requirements. And so CEPI is delighted to be entering into a partnership with Hilleman Laboratories, and Raman will talk about Hilleman's critical role, and with Merck, and with SK Bioscience, to address those things that we wish could be better. We are going to make a very significant investment. CEPI is investing up to $30 million to help update the manufacturing process so that the vaccine will be cheaper. It will improve the thermostability of the vaccine, making it much easier to use in remote locations or austere environments. And it actually is also helping us, and I'll let Raman talk to this, but helping us explore potentially a pioneering new model for public-private partnership to address critical unmet public health needs. So CEPI is providing the funding, and Raman, maybe turn it over to you if I might.
Please.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. And it's a very significant announcement in the sense it's a unique partnership where we have Hilleman, which is, again, a very interesting construct which is formed between MSD as a joint venture between MSD, which is a global pharmaceutical, and Wellcome Trust, which is a global charity, with the primary focus of making accessible products, primarily vaccines and biologics, for low and middle income countries, and working on unmet medical needs. So the reason I mentioned it's an interesting construct is the mission is not for profit, but the company is not for profit. It's mission oriented. And one of our main contributions, or where we feel that we have a significant impact, is we consider ourselves to be a translational R&D engine which supports de-risking product development. And I'd like to say that we have certain valleys of death across the value chain when we look at vaccine or biologics development or pharmaceutical development. And then where we contribute is enabling the platforms to be more scalable and the product to be more deliverable. I mean, in terms of thermostability, Richard alluded to those two elements, key elements. One of the issues that we had faced with the previous iteration of the vaccine was it was frozen. It had delivery constraints, and that led to accessibility issues. And also, he mentioned about the cost, and the cost was related to the production design. And so, our real value is wherein we are able to create a production design that reduces the cost of goods, hence has an impact on the overall pricing, and also the thermostability where it's able to be delivered at refrigerated temperature. So, then it'll be able to use all the investments that the governments put in from a delivery of vaccine standpoint. So it's a very unique combination where we have CEPI as primarily look at avenues where they have impact on pandemic preparedness or outbreak control. We have a large pharmaceutical, which has a product. We have Hilleman, which is an interesting construct, which is in the private sector, but is mission-oriented towards low and middle-income countries and access impact. And then we have a large manufacturer in SK Bioscience who are actually key part of the developing country vaccine manufacturers network, which provides billions of doses, as we had seen during COVID. So it's a very unique construct, and I believe that this lays down a template for future proposition where we are able to bring these assets, which technically might not be, again, we had a previous conversation about the demand and the pull mechanism, that we'll be able to still develop these products in a certain way that could make the pull mechanism much more accessible.
Yeah. Tell us more about how this might be a blueprint for an expanded model, because there's always the sort of unique as in you're a snowflake, or unique as in this is the first of many partnerships that we'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the title, which talked about cholera and Ebola. Ebola is something we are very, very proud to be a part of as this construct. But we had actually had success with cholera in a similar vein, where Hilleman actually developed the product, de-risked the manufacturing, transferred it to a large manufacturer, and that manufacturer has got that product approved, and it's again one of those products which is stockpiled, which provides outbreak control. We talk about pandemics. Cholera, we are on the 7th pandemic over the past century. So there are still needs for these vaccines and these products. So in a sense, we've demonstrated that with cholera. We are enhancing that with CEPI being a key partner in not only providing, I would look at it as beyond funding. One of the key roles that CEPI plays is once this product is accessible, it also allows for the policy design to then be shaped to take further consideration for the demand as well. So that will then have a much more positive connotation, not just for this product, but similar products where the commercial value is not fairly obvious.
Yeah. Richard, can you say more about that, the policy side?
Well, I actually wanted to talk about the model, too. I'll come back to the policy side. The policy side is really important because the business model is so challenging. These critical public health vaccines for episodic epidemic diseases do not create strong commercial incentives to our private sector partners to do the development work. And so the question is, can we develop a business model about sharing risk, both financial risk, technical risk, and even policy risk? I think I've never used that term before, but I think it's probably relevant, that will provide a pathway for bringing products forward to address these episodic but very critical needs. And so I think that the nature of this partnership with the, Raman, correct me if I get this wrong, you're using a for-profit sort of internal operating model for nonprofit goals. And the partnership that Merck and Wellcome in being the principal shareholders for Hilleman, that our shareholders who are sovereign governments who are sharing risk, pooling funds to help us go out and fund the development of these products. Can we bring that together and find manufacturing partners who are willing to work with us to ensure that these products are sustainable? And that's the neat business model innovation that we're pioneering here. The other thing, just in terms of, you asked, is this a snowflake or is this something that can be repeated? The Ebola vaccine is actually been developed on something, we talk about vaccine platforms. These are the underlying manufacturing technologies that allow us to deliver, vaccines that the immune system can see and respond to. And I mentioned the attributes of this vaccine that are so attractive, that it can immunize after a single dose, that it does so very rapidly, that it's safe. It's also on a platform that can be used to develop vaccines for other diseases. This platform has been used to develop vaccines for the related diseases Marburg and Sudan, and also for Lassa fever. And so in pioneering this, and besides the business model, we're also making an entire platform more accessible, cheaper, and more stable. So the potential to then use that platform to work on other critical products is going to be enhanced.
Yeah, I love this as a jumping off point for more products in the future, especially where that commercial viability is a challenging model. We have time for a question or two from the audience. Does anyone have any burning questions before I ask a follow-up? I'd love to know, as you think about the criteria for what would come next in the pipeline, how do you think about prioritization? The ambassador gave us a call for prioritization and the role of governments in prioritization. I'm curious how you'll think about that.
Well, we've got a whole long list of priority diseases. I can tell you that for sure. I think there are some opportunities. We're exploring them. I don't think we're quite ready to talk about them publicly. But the business model that we are establishing here, we've already thinking of ideas of ways that it could be applied to other epidemic diseases. And so probably more to follow on that. I will just say that CEPI as an organization has worked very closely with our partners at the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization has been prioritizing viral threats since I think at least 2015 or so. And they've identified diseases that have the potential to cause epidemics, but where there are no countermeasures, and particularly no vaccines. And that has kind of laid down our priority areas. And the diseases that we're working on, many of them affect the African continent. Ebola, certainly, Rift Valley fever, Lassa fever. Some of them have global spread. Chikungunya is an example, and so we've got a long list of things that we can explore, and if we have willing partners at Hilleman and Merck, we're delighted to keep going.
Amazing. Congratulations on this new partnership. We're thrilled to see where it goes, to see what comes next, and to see the results for all the people who will depend on all these innovations and bringing them to market in a new way. I'd love to invite all the participants in this partnership forward so we can take a quick photo.